I'm Kristan Poirot. I'm an associate professor in communication and women's and gender studies. I am also the director of graduate studies in the Department of Communication. I got my PhD from the University of Georgia in 2004, and I got my master's and bachelor's degrees from Southern Illinois University. Generally speaking, I look at how different communities fight for social change. And so, in particular, my research looks at women's movements and Black resistance since around 1850s, early 19th century, up until present time. More specifically, one of the things that I'm really interested in are the ways that women's movements have challenged notions of what it means to be a woman or what it means to be a man, and how those challenges are important to, transformative social change in kind of public policy or even individual relationships. What drew me to feminist research in particular was a course I took when I was an undergraduate student. I took two different courses, actually, gender and communication and sociology of gender. And in both of these courses was the first time that I was formally introduced to feminist theory. And from that point forward, everything in my undergraduate, master's, and most of my doctorate work focused on women or feminist theory in some way. When I became a professor here at Texas A&M, I expanded some of my work into thinking about Black resistance and race more carefully, in part because I had the opportunity to teach Rhetoric of the Civil Rights Movement. And teaching that course then expanded my own research interest in that area. In my most recent project, the question that I'm asking is, under what conditions are women remembered and forgotten in public memorials and museums about the civil rights movement? So I'm very interested in not just relaying the fact that women seem to be forgotten in these narratives, but more so why. What is it about our memorial landscape and about museums that makes it so difficult to insert the important and crucial work that women did in these movements that will then form public understanding of how Black resistance has worked for some time? So one of the core problems that I have recently become more and more interested in, that forms the backdrop of some of my research questions, is the problem of representations of women and sexual violence, and violence against women in particular. So whether it be the fact that in civil rights museums we are reluctant to acknowledge the fact that women were systematically assaulted as a form of white supremacy, or whether it be, recent events on college campuses that seem to undermine how we talk about women and how that relates to a culture of violence. All of these seem intertwined to me, to seem kind of a community reluctance to look at the problem of sexual violence against women in the face. So one of the things that comes to mind in some of my more recent research has actually been the way women are remembered or forgotten in Aggieland. So students at A&M are very interested in traditions and the heroes that have come before us, etc. And so when we begin to talk about women and they begin to look at their campus community around them, they ask, wait a minute, were there great women that were here? Why don't we talk about them? And so actually I can begin to provide some answers or some analogies to what's happening in a larger kind of memorial scene. I really think that my research influences so much on how I teach, that part of it is enabling students to think critically about the world around them in whatever way they want to. And so I really see my research having the most direct effect through my teaching and my interactions with students at A&M.